Uh,
Hi.
all right, welcome to Sydney Kubes Centerback for the University of St. Thomas, coming off a nice hard-earned draw against Drake. Sid, thanks so much for being
Yeah.
here.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For those who don't know the intricacies of Sydney's daily schedule, we're working in between very competitive, a lot of priorities going on. I think the one tonight was a music video was being shot. Give us a little more
You are
context
correct.
on this, Sydney.
So every year, St. Thomas breaks into different groups of like our today this year we have 7 girls in our group, and we compete in a music battle, like music video battle. So we use like different musicals that have been done, such as High School Musical, stuff like that. So I
Yes.
can't I can't disclose what my group is doing, although there's like very high suspicions by the other teammates. But yeah, we filmed for 4.5 hours today. Yep, yep. It was a lot. It was a
This
lot, but
is
we got a lot of good footage.
can you disclose for us who's in your group?
I
Who
can. So
Okay,
there's
so
Sophia. Oh, sorry.
go.
Okay, Sophia Cabarro, Sophia Bargesta,
Uh-huh.
Sophia England. So we got all the Sophias in our group.
Uh-huh.
And then Brooke Nygaard,
Mhm.
Juliet Carlson, and
Mhm.
then Olivia Rowe.
Wow, that's a strong group. It's also like a lot of your sort of defensive crew is in there. There's like a
Yeah, yeah, a
there's
lot of strong personalities in that group. So it's been good.
and this I'm assuming if it's music video, we're talking lip sync. Is that we're not talking like actual
Yeah.
singing?
Oh, no. No, 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 no. I would not be in my. That is not something I can do. So no, it is kind of going scene for scene with the already done musical.
Do now
So
after you're talking about it, now I'm remembering at least the post about who won last year. I think I,
yep,
but
yep.
the videos never got posted, right?
No, those stay between the St. Thomas women, like
What?
our eyes.
Well,
They're embarrassing.
I will say to all the Toms watching, if anyone wants to leak one or all of those music videos to Equal Time, either purely off the record and I won't post them, or if people want to get some fame, I am willing to be leaked to. I will just say so. Folks, be ready. Well, that's a blast. I love that kind of
It
team building
is.
stuff. I love that also
Yes.
very competitive. I like that. I like that.
Oh, extremely. It's super like everybody's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like trying to get a little information out of each player, but we keep our lips pretty tight, so there's not anything going on.
What is the prize for this? Is there a prize?
Just dignity. I mean,
Okay.
just the fact that you
Okay.
won, and kind of that like bragging, like, "Oh,
To-
how'd your video do last year? Oh, you didn't
totally.
win, we did." Stuff like
Totally.
that.
I like that. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's trash talk material. I like it. I like it.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, so I mentioned when we started, you kicked off with a draw against Drake, who was like a very strong team out of the Missouri Valley last year.
Yes.
A few Minnesotans on that squad too, so some fun overlap where I'm sure a bunch of you have sort of played with Angela or Brooke or
Hmm.
maybe not with Malin, who's a little bit younger, although she definitely played against either you or someone else during last year's like UPSL playoffs. Who cares?
Yeah.
We're going too deep, but so you start off the season, get a nice quality draw to kick things off, but even just in
Hmm.
general, for those who haven't followed Sydney's career, Sid started out at UNLV, went into the portal, came to St. Thomas last year after redshirting. So um, last year, technically your freshman season eligibility wise, redshirt sophomore this year. How does it feel, even just this fall in general, having been with the program, knowing the campus, knowing the team, versus having to come in last year and just like learn a new school again, learn a new team again?
Yeah. Well, there's a difference. Like last year, I still felt just as at home as I do now.
Yeah.
Like now it's like, oh, I look at these girls as my sisters.
Uh huh.
But it's just been so positive this year. The new energy brought in, especially by our new addition of our assistant head coach
Uh
John.
huh.
He's really brought a different type of energy, which brings up everybody, which has been super nice. Like
Uh huh.
the positivity coming out of our practices and games and just being around each other so often is it's genuinely like it's hard it's impossible to speak upon because
Yeah.
it's insane, but
Yeah.
no, it being here my second year, it's really kind of set that foundation for like this is my home,
Uh
so
huh.
it's nice to just be able to feel comfortable with my change because that's a drastic change going from I don't know what 1,300 miles away now back to home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes you feel good. Like, you're like, okay, I made the right decision.
Uh-huh.
But,
Yeah, you're a Twin Cities kid. I think you went to Centennial. I
mhm,
probably joked with you
I
the first
did.
time we spoke that that's where my wife went. So obviously, go Cougars, of course.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yep.
Strong Centennial fans in this household. But
Yeah,
you
it's good.
but you mentioned that transfer process for you going into that. Did you, when you decide to go into the portal, and we always talk about just, I'm sure there's so much that goes into that decision of like the stress of it, like actually
Hmm.
leading up to it. You finally decide you're in the portal. When you were doing that, did you sort of have a set of like a few different places you were considering, or did you just go in saying, hey, wherever I get a chance, I'll consider, it's an open whatever? Or did you sort of go in knowing St. Thomas and a few others are where I'm going to target, and I'm going to reach out to them? Or were you going in saying, let's see who reach out to me?
I've done a little bit of both. Kind of kept that door open to see maybe there's a different possibility for another state to explore. I always find
Yeah.
that fun. Like going out to Nevada was kind
Yeah.
of cool. But when I was younger, I had done a few ID camps here at St. Thomas,
Uh-huh.
toured it a few times. One of my best friends, Tatum Treadle, goes here. We grew
Yeah.
up together. So hearing like the positivity, I love the like faith built behind the school along with
Uh-huh.
the education itself. So
Uh-huh.
kind of like looking ahead to my future, knowing that I do want to focus on something more that focuses a little bit more on education rather than sports,
Yeah.
which I felt a little bit different kind of mentality shift from UNLV, which was quite
Yeah.
sports based, which is
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah.
But I would say I was pretty open to whatever. And I started reaching out with Sheila and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like there was a reason that I had tested this out when I was younger and
Yeah.
now coming back and having the opportunity. So I was pretty set on like, and it's nice to have my family close so they can come to
Mm-hmm.
games. Likewise with my grandparents, just outside family.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think your I first like covered you or saw you play and met your family when
Mm-hmm.
my wife was like busy and I was sitting at home thinking, "Oh, is it crazy to bike from St. Paul to Chanhassen to cover these summer
Yes.
league games?"
The answer is yes.
And for for
Biking?
for me, I'm just on the opposite. Well, it was an e-bike, so it's okay. But for me, I was
Okay.
on the
Okay.
opposite threshold. Decide to do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
go to this game. I had not like the rosters were not posted anywhere. I had no idea who was on any of these teams, and there was two games
Mm-hmm.
back to back. You were in one, and I think your mom was there like with your dog or something. And there's only like
Probably.
20 people in the stands, and so eventually I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you with the player? Blah blah blah." So I hear about you at that game, and you were transferring to St. Thomas, and I was like, "Oh, now I get to watch this player who I'm going to cover in the fall."
Mm-hmm.
And then later that same time, I talked to another mom. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Are you here with the player?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that's my daughter. She's going to play at the U like the fall after this next one." And so randomly, this is why you randomly go to games, guys. You will
Yeah.
meet future college stars like Sydney Kubes. Um,
Oh,
but
thanks.
I, but you mentioned like the difference in those schools. I love hearing about that, where we've interviewed players
Mm-hmm.
before where they talk about like you go to a school and you tour and you realize you did the whole tour and they never once mentioned academics, and it's like only once you
Yeah.
finish you're like, oh, they didn't even pretend. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned earlier in your music video group is freshman Brooke Nygaard, who happens to be
Yes.
at least in that first game your center back pairing. Don't
Mm-hmm.
want to put anything too much in cement with all the rotation that happens
Yeah.
with the rotation. But Brooke
Mm-hmm.
Nygaard in the exhibitions was starting next to you. During the first opening match of the regular season was playing next to you. What's it been like for you to sort of, first year at UNLV, you're not playing, so you redshirt. Last year, there's still
Mm-hmm.
some shifting around. You play a good amount of minutes, but you're not playing like every single game, blah, blah, blah. This year,
Yeah.
you come in and literally like a freshman is playing next to you. So I'm sure they're kind of counting on you to provide some of that like veteran leadership and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. What's it been like for you to sort of build that center back pairing, and also for you to like settle into being like, okay, let's be ready. My mentality is I'm going to
Yeah.
be in every game starting center back. What's that been like adjusting to sort of both of those dynamics?
Yeah, well, Brooke's great. She's probably one of the, like, I love her as a person, as a
Mm-hmm.
player. It's quite nice too because she'll kind of listen to me, lean on me, ask me questions. So I'm thankful that she's comfortable enough to put
Yeah.
trust into me because that builds a strong pairing in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the role of trying to help her. I mean, for this
Yeah.
year, next year, whatever I can do to make her a
Mm-hmm.
better player, something that I want to work on with her. And then along
Mm-hmm.
with that, I mean, if you have a good foundation in the back, your whole, I mean, that builds up from the back. So you then working forward through that. If we can get the ball out from the back, then it works. But I don't know. It's been adjustment mentally, of course. I just try to come game ready, always expect the unexpected kind of thing. Just positivity is what we're really focusing on as a team this year, and just getting out there and having fun and showing what we can do. And with the squad this year, I'm like quite confident that we're gonna have a good year. So I'm happy about that.
I was curious too, watching like at that, you know, I went and watched you all when you did that exhibition in Madison playing Wisconsin, and I was looking at the back line, and you all battled super well. I didn't write a ton about the exhibitions, but like I thought showed really, really well. You know, for the start of the game, you all actually had like the bulk of possession. You know, there was like a lot of fun silver linings out of that one. But even watching that game and then the Green Bay game, I kept looking at the back line and being like, you know, Sid is more experienced than Brooke, you know, just Brooke being a freshman and you being around multiple programs. And somehow you still got to be the one playing next to like a longtime veteran at outside back. And I was like, oh yeah, Sid somehow lucked out. Have you always played left center back, or do you play both sides? So I'm referencing Abby Brantner plays left back, and she started at the wing when St. Thomas started. You know, 4 years ago when she started, she was playing up top, but has shifted to outside back and really honestly looks great in that spot. But you get the benefit of having this like fourth year senior next to you. Have you always played that sort of left center back where you're always next to them, or have you mixed around depending on the team?
It depends on what the coach wants me. I'm not I'm not left footed, but I have primarily my career played on the left side. Okay. And then Abby Brantner is one of my favorite people ever. So her and I kind of have that chemistry already built in. Not saying like the other side, obviously, but Abby Brantner and I have so much good chemistry playing off of each other. We understand like different tells. So like the way she calls for the ball, I understand where she wants it. Likewise with me. We can kind of go at each other and make sure that we hold each other accountable, which is super nice, and then walk off the field hand in hand, best friends. So I think it's just that chemistry that we've had built is kind of what Coach Sheila sees. So
it's so funny to watch her, because when she started at St. Thomas as an attacker, and even like in the years in between, like her running gait and her athleticism is so specific. Like she's so boundy. I've described her as like, she almost looks like a deer. Like when she starts running, she does like a hop, and there's a bounciness to it. And even this fall, there we go. Thanks, Apple. Even this fall, she's really seemed almost even more, like really settled in, and you can almost see it in her physicality of like being such a veteran. And I just think of a program like this where it's newly D1, you know, still in my preview, I said, still really sort of growing into its identity, you know, figuring out what the style of play is, even the switch of style of play from like one exhibition to the next, like there still was very much like things shifting. And so I can't even imagine sort of being part of that growing team, and sort of as things are still settling, because it does come with stress. I mean, like I want to be really honest, like all last year there was so much rotation, so much change. Like you could see it just in players like body language. Like it was hard to deal with so much adjustment, because you're trying to create this like foundation. How do you all think about stuff like that, of like, it's so cool to be building this team for the first time, but it does mean you have to carry like a unique thing of, it's not built yet. Like we need to build this.
I think an important reminder like that we kind of focus on as a team, and especially our captains, is like this doesn't define us, one mistake, or like we can show them what we're made of at St. Thomas. Like you were talking about the Madison game, like sure we went into it like, oh, this is a good team, Big Ten, stuff like that, but just kind of take that humble side, like, hey, at the end of the day, we're all soccer players, so we're gonna go out there, and we have such a great chemistry on this team. So it's like a group of sisters, a group, like we're all going to work together for each other and go out there and show what we can. So I personally love being a part of like a quote unquote, like a startup D1 program, kind of like a newly, cause it's just cool to see like, 4 years ago, what we've come to now, and like what the future holds for our team. So I think it's cool.
Yeah. That camaraderie is just, it's really rad. I mean, it's stuff that Mark and I love. That's why we love covering stuff like this, of just like, hey, it's not glitzy and glamorous for you guys. Like you the Summit League is super competitive, like even trying to get from the bottom of the Summit League into that top 6, which is theoretically the tournament field, even though you can't be in the tournament, even that step of going from the bottom 3 into like 5 and 6 is like, no one's going to give that to you. Like, it's not going to be,
exactly. It's work.
Or even like you mentioned the Wisconsin game, there was multiple times where like a breakaway would happen and it's like, well, we're playing Wisconsin, so Maddie Ishog is just going to destroy our dreams in this moment, and she's just going to chase me down. Like a forward would get out on the break and it's like, well, no, Maddie Ishog is just going to like ruin your life in this moment and chase you down and like slide it out. It's like, that's what playing Wisconsin is. That it just sucks.
Yeah. It was fun though, and I was proud of our team, and we were all proud of each other after that one.
I talked to Sheila after, I talked to parents after. I mean, that game was really competitive. I mean, Wisconsin isn't just a Big Ten team; they're like a very good Big Ten team.
Yeah, exactly.
And you all are still battling for position in the Summit League. Like on paper, it should not be a close game, and it very much was a game. Like it felt like a game. It did not. The goal, even the goal St. Thomas gave up early was like just a random misclearance. I took the video of it, and it's like I think it was like Brooke attempted a clearance and just didn't get contact on it, and it's like, well, those are just like you said. That's just like a mistake. That's not like a. It's not like a tactical error. That's just like
exactly. Yeah, no. Yes, exactly.
Well, you mentioned choosing St. Thomas, not just for soccer, but also for like academics. I notice, at least on the website, you were listed as pre-med, so no big deal, obviously. Just swinging
not
big.
Anymore.
Are you? I was gonna say, what is your sort of academic interest, and what kind of stuff are you sort of curious about?
Yeah, I used to be pre-med. I always wanted to be a neurologist, but I also have a problem with talking a little bit too much, and probably a little too much energy for what a neurologist would need. So I've kind of switched career paths to sales and marketing. So it's kind of complete opposite, but I like to talk. I consider myself personable. So I think hopefully I can succeed in, I thought medical sales, so I had a little bit, still. Yeah.
Well, you can. I mean, the Twin Cities is built for that, baby. It's all med tech all the time. You can jump in.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Well, and you're like, listen, you could change. I don't want to stress your parents out. You could change majors before you graduate again. You got time.
Yeah.
You're good.
You never know. Yeah, they're listening.
Good.
I'm sure they loved your throwing an embarrassing comment in. I was like sitting back here. I was like, no, don't throw anything.
Listen, I've seen them at games. They're very cool people. I'm sure they will eventually give me that comment. We'll just have to wait and see.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. The other thing, this is me sneaking in the internet said it segment, which no one has ever told me they like, but I obsessively continue to do. This was not exactly buried deep into the internet. It also was in your bio that you were all conference in basketball in high school, which is sort of saying something because you went to a giant ass high school. And so like you would like being all conference, even playing multiple sports at like a 5A high school is nuts. And so you were all conference. So here's the question, Sid. You have to pick, you're obviously starting, of course, pick 4 other St. Thomas women's soccer players. And the scenario is you're going to play against 5 random players from like the volleyball team or some other non-basketball team. And you are battling for women's fall sports supremacy in a 5-on-5 one-off basketball game. So who are the 4 other St. Thomas women's soccer players that you pick for your basketball team?
Okay, I got Kendall Ellis for height, and she used to play. Okay, so it's her and I right now. I'll play shooting guard. Okay, because that's what I used to do in high school.
And you said
I want Tatum Treadle.
Okay, where's Tatum playing for you?
She's probably gonna have to be just a scrappy defender. So I'll have her play like another shooting guard, get the rebounds and stuff. She'll love that I threw her in there.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who other we played actually. So we had a 3-3 tournament last fall. So I'm trying to think of who was like. I was like, oh wow, look at them.
Well, you said Kendall did play.
Yes, Kendall did play, and she's a good post, so I'm gonna put her in my post position.
She's like she honestly she's probably not this tall, but she looks like 6'2". When she's lining up, like when the team lines up, I joked with a parent in the stands. When the team lines up, it's like player, Kendall, player. Like she's so huge.
Yeah. No, I love her. She was good. She was destroying us in the post. I think her team won. I'm trying to think who else was on her team, but I have her, me, Tatum.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to toss probably Ellie Ellie
Okay.
Ellie had some really good defending,
Oh, okay.
good defense. Yep. And then I'm gonna have
Ellie.
to go Abby Brantner.
Okay. Ellie Tempero and Abby Brantner.
Oh yeah, sorry, yes.
Some
Yep.
good, some good veteranosity in there too. You got
Yeah,
Ellie and
and like the
Abby.
work ethics. I like the work ethics work on. I mean, I haven't seen the freshmen totally play like
Uh-huh.
another sport, so I can't toss them in.
Yeah. I
The sophomores last year, they'll own that they weren't necessarily like balling out, so I think they wouldn't care.
You know who I, you
But
know,
yeah,
if it was a round robin just with the soccer team, I'd be a little stressed out about the possibility of like, is it Melina? Melina Knowles is like,
yeah, yeah.
she's so fast, or even like,
Oh,
I'd be a
yeah,
little worried about her in the open court. But I think you have a lot of scrappiness in there, and
yeah,
is Tatum Treadle, even on the soccer side. As soon as I started covering the team, she was still working back from like multiple leg injuries or something, like a
yeah.
crazy. Like
Hmm.
even her running gait was still like she was you could tell it was the thing where you're like working back, and it's
Yeah.
wild seeing her this fall, because seeing her this
Hmm.
fall is like what I imagine you all used to
Yeah.
see before her injury. And
Yes.
so
Yeah. It's awesome.
seeing her this fall, I'm like, oh yeah, she's got
Yeah.
moves.
There's Tatum Treadle. There's Tatum
She's
Treadle. Yeah. No,
she's quick,
she had three. Yeah,
There
she
you
had
go.
three ACL surgeries, so she was coming back from it. Yeah, I know. Poor thing. But she's
Ta-
handling like a champ.
Tatum, you are a hero. That is unbelievably shitty. That's
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the starting five we're going with. We're going with Sydney
Hmm.
Kubes, Abby Brantner, Ellie Tempero, Kendall Ellis, and Tatum Treadle. I think that's a fun five. That's a fun five.
I think so too. I think so too.
So whichever equivalent outlet covers St. Thomas volleyball, talk to us and we'll put this game
Yeah.
on. Sydney Kubes, center back for the University of St. Thomas. You all are heading out on the road. They play at Northern Illinois. I will be covering that on Twitter and posting the highlights on Instagram. And then the absolute blast,
Yeah.
the crosstown showdown. Sunday, St. Thomas hosts the University of Minnesota. You know I'll be there, baby. We will be there,
Oh yeah.
ready to see a mountain of Minnesotans all playing at the same time. And hopefully we'll get to see Sid starring in the back line for St. Thomas. Sydney, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Roll Toms.